Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Strength of Purpose podcast. I'm your co-host, Dr. Phil Finemore, owner of WorkFitME Mobile Physical Therapy.
And I'm Josh Jewett, owner of Strength of Purpose in Buxton, Maine. And the goal of our podcast is helping busy Maine professionals find the mental, emotional, and physical strength to fulfill their true purpose in life.
Josh and I have a passion for sharing our true purpose with others. Join us as we discuss holistic health and wellness tips with our friends, colleagues, and even heroes and mentors to help you strengthen your true purpose in life. And today we have an incredible guest joining us. A lot of you out there probably know who this is. She is a native Mainer, a high school classmate of mine, well, a year ahead of me in high school. So I've been a fan of this person for a very, very long time. She is a 5-time American Ninja Warrior, the first rookie female to qualify for the Vegas finals, the only female with 2 city finals buzzers, and the most buzzers overall for women with a total of 6. That doesn't even include all the incredible track and field accolades at Messalonskee High School and at the University of Maine at Orono. If you don't already know who it is, welcome in Jessie Flex Labreck to the podcast. Jessie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here today.
Of course, our absolute pleasure. So I think a good place to start out is talking about your story. I mean, I know the folks that are familiar with you from American Ninja Warrior are pretty familiar with, again, your track career at the University of Maine. I know that's a big topic of conversation when you're competing on the show, but would love to have you just for our listeners dive in a little bit more on what that transition from that high level Division I track career, how that all developed into working into being a very high level competitor on American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I did track for 13 years. And so ending that track career after college, I actually tried to do track for another year after college, just because I wasn't ready to be done competing. It's really hard to, when you have competed and have had a goal and a purpose for 13 years, and then all of a sudden it just stops. And now you just have to get a job and then that's it. That's your life.
Right.
And so I wasn't quite ready for that. So I tried to do track for a year after. And I found that while I loved track, I did love the sport of track, but I think what I loved more was the teammates and the team and the camaraderie and everything that came along with being on a team. Yep. Even though track is a very individualized sport when it comes to scoring, your team, you don't realize how much your team is there for you. And so especially in college, you get very close with those people. So, because you're with them every single day, you live with them, you travel with them. My roommates were all track athletes and stuff. So you don't realize how important that becomes to you. So I tried it for a year after, and I just didn't feel the drive. I didn't feel the motivation. So I thought, okay, maybe my track, maybe, my competing part of my life is over. And, it is what it is. And I ended up getting a job at Belgrade Central, which is the elementary school that's part of our high school. We went to Oakland, but did you go to Oakland too as well, Phil?
Yeah.
Yes, we went to Oakland, but Belgrade is a school that's off of it. And so I ended up getting a job there because I saw my elementary school principal, Mrs. Smedberg, at the grocery store. And she told me that they had a job opening. And so I applied and I got it within oh my God, it was 2 days. It was like a whirlwind of 2 or 3 days. And I was like, man, this just doesn't happen where you get a teaching job so quickly and so easily. It fell into my lap. So I was like, okay, maybe this is where I'm supposed to be. And so I taught that year after college. And throughout that year, I missed sports. I missed competing. I missed that part of my life so much. I loved my kids. I loved my job, but I missed that part of my life so much. And so I thought, okay, well, what can I do? And so a friend of mine had told me about trying out for the USA bobsled team because there's so many components of track that can translate to bobsled.
Sure.
So I had gone to try out for that. Oh no, that was a year later. So anyway, so John Alexis was the one that introduced me to American Ninja Warrior. He asked me to help him out with his submission video. And I was like, John, like people from Maine don't get on TV shows. One guy on Survivor, or like, and then the Ashley Wonderwood, 2 people actually on Survivor. I'm like, that's it. Like nobody else really gets on TV shows. And I was like, that's crazy. And then he got picked that spring, and I was like, wow, I guess I can eat my words. And so, he had asked me to go to a competition with him that was like 12 hours away because that was the closest ninja gym. And so we went and competed at that competition, and it was a blast. I met a couple people from the show, and I was like super starstruck, and I was like, wow.
Right.
And so I did that competition, and from there I was hooked.
Yeah.
So I wasn't very good though. Like I didn't have any upper body strength coming from track. It was all lower body. So I crushed the warped wall, but then I was like struggling on everything else. And so that summer after teaching, I was kind of deciding between, I went and tried out the bobsled, and I was competing in like local ninja gyms and things like that. And I was trying to figure out which one fit me the best. And then for bobsled, that they told me that I would have to gain like 20 pounds of muscle or like lifting, like muscle from lifting. Whoa. And I mean, obviously some fat comes along with that if you're going to gain 20 pounds that quickly.
Sure.
Right.
Basically my training would be lifting and eating. And I was like, you know what? I don't think this is for me. I was like, I don't like, my least favorite part of practicing for track was the lifting. I mean, I liked it okay, but like not my whole thing. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this ninja journey. I'm going to really try to go and follow this. I moved to Massachusetts. I found a job with a little girl with cerebral palsy that was very close to the ninja gym. I used to take her training with me. And then from there, I applied for the show, and that's how I got on the show. So it's kind of a long story, but it transitioned. Like John Alexis was really the one that gave, kind of introduced me to it all and showed me that it was possible for someone, some little person from small town Maine, so yeah.
Not only did they take one person from Maine, they wound up taking 3, right? within those first 2 seasons, because John's dad, John Alexis Senior, Sensei Alexis, was on there as well for a couple of seasons. So yeah, that's really cool. I think that the real interesting part of that, but aside, people from Maine getting on like a nationally televised show, is, as you said, that sort of competitive drive, and that wanting to train in a way that you've always trained, which is not doing one thing, but a little bit of everything to prepare for what you're competing for, really kind of catches me a little bit. And I know, Josh, you had a couple of things you wanted to ask specifically about Jesse's training in that regard, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But first, I just when was at what point was the switch kind of turned where you said, well, I like this and I like this, but I don't want to gain the muscle for the bobsledding. So when was that switch turned where you just went, okay, well, if I'm going to go do this, I'm going to do it professionally?
Yeah. It was, so the summer after teaching, I had gone to go to Lake Placid to try out for bobsled. And then directly from there, I went to a ninja competition. And it was in Buffalo, New York. And so I was like, okay, well, I can hit this. And then I have that ninja competition. Yep. So I was like, I did the tryout. And as I'm driving to Buffalo, they said that I made it past the first round and to come back for the next one. And I was like, okay, I'll think about it. And then I did that competition, and then I won that competition for the females. And I had so much more fun doing that competition and being around all those people and like the ninja community. And I just felt more like that's where I belonged. And so I was driving home, drove that like 12 hours home. And I just thought about it that whole time. And I thought, I think I'm going to pursue ninja instead, just based on like where I feel like my heart is and where I felt like I just belonged. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it seems like they have like it's almost like the Spartan community. It's like just very close knit, but like everybody's really cool with each other, no matter what, win or lose, like they got your back, and that's really interesting. Yeah.
Absolutely. I was just gonna say, it's almost like you're you're not cool in the ninja community if you're like too cocky, mean to somebody, not accepting of others. Like you have to take out, and like track is like, you didn't go and really talk to the other team very much. You got your people that you sometimes train with, whatever, but you weren't like becoming best friends with them. You weren't cheering them on against your own teammates and stuff. So it was very different from track.
Yeah. That's interesting. Huh. That's pretty cool though. I like that. So it kind of doesn't matter as long as you give everything you have and you're a good sport about it. Everybody's cool. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we kind of explain it to others. Like it's more like us against the course versus us against, the other people. And so, yeah.
That's pretty neat. Okay, so a good segue. So when you got into doing the Ninja Warrior, and I heard you talk about how your upper body was a little bit weaker. At that point, did you go find a coach? Did you start doing a lot more cross training along with maybe your running, sprinting, leg work and things like that? Like how different was your training at that point?
Yeah, it was pretty different. I wasn't quite ready to let go of my like track workouts because that's what I felt used to, and I knew how to do. I knew how to make workouts for myself like that. I didn't necessarily find like a specific, I guess he was kind of my coach, but you more find like friends that are better at it than you are, and they just help you along the way and tell you. And so there was a ninja gym in Massachusetts called Action Athletics, and I met a couple of friends through there. Some people that I still like compete with today, like Alyssa Beard. And that's where John was training too. And so I was like training there, but my training was very different. It was literally just trying to complete a single obstacle was like my training. Like if I could do a single obstacle, I'm like, wow, cool. I can do that obstacle now. I'm going to keep practicing and make sure I really solidify it. But like even just building my strength was just doing that obstacle.
Interesting.
So then I started putting in rock climbing as well. There was a rock climbing gym down the road. I started rock climbing, and that really, really helped build that strength and build that endurance in my hands that I didn't have. So my training is very different now because I should be able to do most of the obstacles. And so it's a little bit different, but I needed that upper body that I just did not have.
Yeah,
it's kind of so you got the hand strength with the climbing and the upper back strength. Yeah, that's what, and then just doing any sort of upper, like just any body weight stuff, like the courses. I mean, you could do that 100 times a day, and it really doesn't, destroy you so much as far as like if you went to weights and were slinging weights and doing, a high intensity stuff with that. I imagine that's a lot safer for you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the weights, and also part of it too is like I didn't want to put on muscle that I didn't need in order to do the course and to do the obstacles. And so while I still lift once in a while, and I still do a lot of like that pushing, because we do so much pulling in ninja, is that I have to kind of do the pushing stuff on the side too. But I don't want to put on any extra muscle that puts on any extra weight, because then I have to carry that around with me through the course.
Makes sense.
Yeah, you gotta be very specific and intentional in what you're doing, so that you're improving that one skill, right? Which has to be a variety of skills, which is different than different than a lot of other sports, but because there's always new stuff being thrown at you. But that's interesting. See, this stuff's really interesting to nerds like Josh and I, because we're like, how do you do that? That piece of training is that's really fascinating. So what's your ratio, I guess, to just working the obstacles and then doing something a little more specific, like the rock climbing or the weights, or even just some general conditioning, right? Because I'm sure you're still doing, like you said, you're kind of structuring things similar to track workouts to try to keep yourself balanced, like you did in track, which is part of what kind of pulled you to the ninja stuff. How are you scheduling that into your training, and does that change based on how close you are to getting ready for the competitions?
Yeah, exactly. It changes throughout the year, because like right now we're leaving in 2 weeks to go film for the next season. And so right now I'm not even doing rock climbing right now. I hurt my finger just a little bit, one of my tendons. So I'm taking it easy on rock climbing. And so you have to be really careful with like injuries. So basically right now, all we're doing is course training. We're doing it Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And we basically go in and we do 3 or 4 course runs, and we're trying to really be consistent and have like a good pace, focus on where we're going to rest, and kind of try to simulate the same amount of obstacles that we're going to be in a couple weeks. That's kind of, and it depends on the competition that we're doing. Like the one we're doing right now in 2 weeks is going to be just 6 obstacles. Then we're going to get sent home because of COVID. And then we're going to come back if we make it and do the 10 obstacle course, where before it's usually back to back. Like we do one day, one next. So we have to train for both.
Oh, wow.
And then in May is Vegas. And those courses are like 10 obstacles, but like speedy. So like you want to spend like 8 to 10 seconds or less on every single obstacle when you're training, and you want to just keep moving, and like we want to just keep running through. And basically your goal is to like be super winded at the end of your course and have like run like pretty far through all the gym or whatever. And so it kind of depends on the competition that we're leading up to, but I would say as I'm in season, I'm not really doing track workouts as much. I'm not lifting at all. And I cut it down on the climbing. We just mainly focus on the courses that we're going to be doing.
Gotcha.
As soon as the season's over, we take a little bit of time off because we're super tired in our bodies and we just need like a mental break. That's definitely where I throw in more track workouts. I probably, I almost do virtually almost no ninja, and I do the track workouts and the lifting and that kind of stuff. And then I slowly add it in throughout the year because our bodies just need a break. Course training is not really that much fun because it's really hard. And so like you kind of dread it because you're just, you're going to be going through a course. Your forms are going to be killing you. Your hands are going to be killing you. And you have a day rest in between, then you have to go back and do it all over again. So mentally it's really tough because it's like kind of like the least fun part of ninja. Like you want to do fun obstacles and cool moves and whatever.
Right.
And no, you have to do like a 5-minute run and you can't stop, and you just have to keep pushing through. So we need that break after. And so that's when I start to kind of incorporate that other stuff and then slowly phase that stuff out as it gets closer to the season.
Yeah. That's really cool. And actually that segues really well into the other big thing that was on my mind for the interview here. And that was the mental aspect of things. So one of the things, actually, the first time you were ever on American Ninja Warrior, I immediately recognized your prep for the warped wall, because it's the same way you let into your high jump and your long jump. And I know for having competed with you when we were in high school, I know that that's not only like physical prep for you, but it's also mental prep for you. Right. It's getting yourself ready for what you're about to do to perform at the highest level you can, to make sure that you do it the best you possibly can in that moment. So when you're at that level, right, you're competing at American Ninja Warrior, as you said, everyone's really training a very similar way. Right. So the difference in physical ability amongst all those competitors there is very small. But for you, how important do you feel that competitive drive and that sort of mental and emotional game is to your success thus far and your success moving forward? And do you really train into that much? Like how are you working on that side of things?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is incredibly huge. Like, the thing is I would not be where I am today if I didn't have that mental aspect, because if you don't have it, then anything can happen. And we only get one chance on that course. And so I feel almost lucky with how well it has gone for me, because at least in the city qualifiers and city finals, I've done pretty well with not making any silly mistakes. It can happen at any time. I know it can happen in 2 weeks, like I know that it's a little bit of luck, but it's also that mental component that I have. And I think I learned it from track. It's like going through that motion, so like hundreds of times, and then you get on the track and then you don't even think and you just do it. Like my coach in college used to say, you just black out. Like that was the purpose of like, that was what you're training for, is to train so hard that when you get on the track, you get in the high jump, you get in the long jump, you just black out and you just do it to like your full ability. And you're not thinking about all the little things that can hold you back while you're doing it.
Mm.
People have asked me before, they're like, how do you do that? How do you train that? And I don't really know how to train it, how to make it happen. But for me, it happens every time I'm on the course. Like I'm on the course and then I'm either in the water or I'm at the buzzer. You know, there's only two options.
Right.
And both times I'm like, how did I get here? I barely remember even getting here because I'm so focused and I'm so driven while I'm on the course that like everything else is just kind of gone. I don't hear people cheering for me. I don't hear all the noise, all the lights, all the cameras, like whatever. I'm so focused on the obstacles that it's like I almost like black out.
Yeah. And
tunnel vision.
Yeah. I think for someone like yourself, Jesse, some of that, there are some people that are that's just so natural for them, right? Like, again, that your competitive drive is just built different than other people. So you're able to focus in, but for some people that takes practice and, you know, things like, well, I guess here's a good question for you. Do you do things like visualization before your run? Like, are you visualizing each of those obstacles? Because I'm sure once you get there, you've seen them, you've actually physically run through the course, or you've at least done those obstacles before, maybe not in that exact order. Cause I'm not sure how much of the order of the course, you know, until you show up to the competition to film and run through the course. But do you use things like visualization, meditation, combination of those things to try and help train that a little bit? Or is that something you used to do and it just has come more natural to you over time at this point?
Yeah, I feel like in the beginning I didn't, because I didn't know to, but then I definitely did start visualizing. The only problem is I realized that I visualize it from the camera view. So like as if you're like taking a video of it. And so then when I would get on the course and you're looking down at the obstacle or up at the obstacle, I'm like, okay, I'm not visualizing this as if I'm doing it.
Right.
Visualizing it as if I'm watching myself go through it. So then I've been more trying to practice that, which is harder because you don't know what it's going to look like until you're standing there, because these obstacles are huge. But you watch your friends go through, or you're watching the TV that's in the, you know, the train in the warm-up area, and you're watching other people do it. So you have that TV view. And that's where I tend to mentally visualize it from. And I have been trying to start visualizing it standing on the course. Visualizing for me, I think works okay. But then also there's been times like 2 years ago in Vegas, we got asked to do a run, and then I was the first person to go, and we didn't get to warm up. And I got a buzzer, and I'd never even finished a buzzer on stage one before, and it was USA versus the world, and they didn't give us time to prep, time to warm up, time for anything, and it was just go. And so sometimes it's like, man, you just can't think, and you just have to do what you know you can do and what you've practiced for, and you just got to go. So
yeah, trust in your physical ability at that point, right? Trust in your training and not overthink it. I think that's a good point to make, because sometimes you can put too many eggs in that mental game basket and psych yourself out a little bit from, you know, push it too far, so that you're not trusting those physical abilities.
Yeah, you could be in the warm-up area and your warm-up's not feeling good, or you're not, you know, or you don't get quite as much time as you're looking to do, or, you know, someone gets in your way and then they're doing their warm-up. And so then you're like, oh man, come on. And then like you're focused on that instead of focusing on your run. And then you're standing at the starting line like, well, I didn't get to warm up like I wanted to. And so, but then other times, then you just get put in the spot, and then you got to go, and then you can't even think about that kind of stuff. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Interesting. Do you ever use any breath work too, along with that visualization, like to kind of get yourself a little bit, you know, tuned down a little bit, or the opposite, like tuned up, like hard breathing for, you know, getting your nervous system a little pumped up?
Yeah, my friend Ethan actually does that. He like does all this like sucking in and blowing out or whatever. And I'm always like, dude, what are you doing? And so has taught me to do that before, is like to get all that oxygen in your blood and then to kind of like get that like rest after. Like you don't want to run immediately after, but you want to take a little bit of time and then do it. I think the biggest thing for me is breathing on the obstacles as I'm going through them, because it's really easy for us to hold our breath when we're doing something that we're so focused on. And so if you keep doing that through the obstacles, then you get so tired by the end, and then you're just totally wrecked and your muscles are not recovering.
Right.
And so I think the biggest thing is to like, for us, is to focus on breathing during the run. So I almost like plan on like, okay, where are you going to breathe here? Where are you going to tell yourself like, okay, Chris, tell me that I need to breathe here. And so not that I can ever usually hear him, but like, so whatever, but I'm like, but it's a nice thing for me to say is, hey, can you tell me? Cause then sometimes I think about it. So I think it's more important for me is like where to focus on in the course.
Interesting.
That's, I think that's a real good, take home point for anybody out there, because whether you're doing a ninja obstacle or whether you're doing a squat, please breathe. Right. You need, our muscles need that oxygen to actually work, right? Not just recover, like you said, but also to work properly and work better. And I'm sure you notice that if you're in a practice run, you hold your breath through something, the next time you go through, you remember to breathe. I bet that obstacle is a lot easier for you to master and improve your confidence on if you're working that piece in.
For sure. It literally happened to me on Friday night where I was trying to go too fast through a course. I didn't focus on my breathing and I fell on the 7th obstacle and I was like pumped out. I couldn't do it. I was like, what's going on? And then Chris said, he goes, I know I did the same thing. So then this time I'm focusing on where I'm breathing and taking it just a tiny bit slower. And I end up running it faster and finishing the course because I focused on my breathing through other obstacles earlier on. And I'm like, oh my God. It's like, I can't just do this on my own. I have to be told to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Josh, how many times have you told people to breathe? Right.
Oh, it's
big. Yeah.
I think breathing dysfunction is super common in our society right now, but like people be in the middle of something like a hold or a plank, and you'll see their face, and I'm like, it's okay to breathe. You know that, right? It's okay to breathe.
Yeah.
It's bad. So yeah, and it definitely gasses you. I know with Strong First, we have to do a snatch test. So we have to do 100 snatches in 5 minutes. And I don't know if you've done a kettlebell snatch before, Jesse. I don't know if you've ever done one before.
I don't think I have. Just with the bar.
They're brutal, and everybody's watching you. There's like 55 people watching you do it, and you get to usually when you get to about 60, you start to really feel it, and then it's just basically like you slog through, kind of like what you were saying. You just kind of get that tunnel vision, you get that primal growl in you, and you just go for it. But yeah, it's just you have to breathe. If you don't breathe, you're going to pass out, and then that 53-pound kettlebell is going to just smash you. So
I can't imagine.
Yeah. No, it's funny though. Yeah. People have to, you definitely have to breathe. It's so much better for you.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, Jesse, as you're gearing up for your next season of American Ninja Warrior here, what's next for you? What are the goals that you're really pushing toward? Like what's, you've reached a very high point in American Ninja Warrior very quickly, which doesn't surprise any of us that know you, by the way, but you've gotten to that point very quickly. So what are your goals looking like heading into this year and just moving forward in your time competing in American Ninja Warrior?
Yeah, sure. So this year at least is, I need to make it to Vegas, because that's where my real goal is. I keep falling on stage 1. I've fallen 4 years. And then 3 years in a row, I've fallen on the very last obstacle on stage 1. So it's devastating. So my goal is to be at stage 1, but there's a lot of steps in order to even get to stage 1. Right. So I need to set my goal of just like, okay, when I'm on the qualifiers, I need to get to finals. When I'm at the finals, I need to get to Vegas. And then that's where my real goals start, because I've gotten a buzzer in qualifiers before. I've gotten a buzzer in finals before. And so while I would love to do that again, that's great. That's not on my like checklist because I've done it. I need to get to Vegas so that way I can get the stage 1 buzzer.
Right.
It's
Awesome.
hard because there's so many things in your way. And it's ninja. So anything can happen and you don't know what balance, we don't know what balance we're going to get, which is like the scariest thing for ninjas because we can't really train ninja warrior balance in our gyms because they're so big and they're a little dangerous too. So like you don't want to, especially before training, is like you don't want to hurt your ankle or hurt, you know, anything by training something big and not having water underneath you, you know.
Right.
So that's like the scariest thing for us. Is like, okay, what are we going to get for balance? And then you're always thinking about, okay, well, who's in your region that are super strong, because you might not make it if you're not the top, whatever. So just kind of waiting to hear that kind of stuff. But stage 1, as far as like long-term, my fiance and I've kind of talked about it. I don't know how many more years I have left where this is like what I want to do. I think we're kind of moving more towards that like family, which is exciting. And like, I needed to feel ready and be really okay with like not competing. And so now it has been, you know, like 8 more years of competing that I've had now after college. And that feels good. That's we're getting close to the end.
Right.
Not that I won't do ninja after I have kids. You know, I might feel like I want to, but I'm also not going to put that pressure on myself that I have to get back into the shape that I am now, or even close to it when I have kids. You know, my priorities might change. I might not want to do ninja at all and just spend time with my kids and my family.
Sure.
And so I'm not going to put that pressure on myself at all that, you know, I have to make a comeback and I have to come back and do that. I'm going to see how I feel after I have my family.
Awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic. I think that's a great mindset and you know, great sort of self-awareness. I think that's hard for people, right? Those external expectations on ourselves are always there, but we have to be okay just being happy with ourselves, right? Taking care of ourselves and doing what's best for us and our family and those around us that we love. So, yeah, that's great. Good for you. That's
yeah, definitely. That's awesome that you have that, you know, that goal above and beyond everything else. That's awesome.
Yeah. So a couple other quick questions before we get into, you know, how people can find you and interact with you and a little bit more about the upcoming, American Ninja Warrior season when that airs and all that good stuff. What do you do? Because obviously you train, right? We've talked a lot about training, but I think a lot of people are probably curious. What do people that are at your level than American Ninja Warrior do? Like, are you working at a gym? Like, what's like a day in the life, I guess, of someone who competes on American Ninja Warrior?
Yeah. So a lot of us top level ninjas, there's a few different options. Some of us have a gym. So like I work at an American Ninja Warrior gym. I'm a ninja coach, but I also manage the gym. So we have, I do like the classes and the elite team, and like everything that's weekday, because the owner was very perceptive and understood what was important for the gym to have. And that it was important to have an American Ninja Warrior athlete there to bring the people in and then get them hooked and like have the knowledge. But he also knows that like, we have to travel for ninja and then we have to train and all this stuff. So I have the weekends off, which is so amazing because a lot of ninja coaches and a lot of like coaches in general don't have that, because when everyone else has time off, it's the weekend. And so that's when they need to work. So very lucky there that like I work the week, I work with some awesome kids. I love our elite team. I have kids that are super motivated and they motivate me. So in my case, yes, I'm a ninja coach. There are other definitely ninjas that are as well, because it's our life, it's our passion. And so they're coaches as well. You do have those top few people who are able to do appearances, motivational speaking, kind of just like things like that. And they can just travel or camps and, you know, events at other gyms and things like that. I do that kind of stuff on the side because I don't want to rely on that as my like full-time job.
Yeah.
And then, if you're kind of not one of those two things, it's whatever they did to, you know, have their career. And then ninja, they usually found ninja a little bit later and they're trying to now incorporate that into their life. So you have all walks of life. You have doctors and nurses, you have teachers, you have, you know, professional rock climbers, you have all these different, you know, accountants. My fiance's code, he writes code. So, you have like all these different types of people who found ninja through their life and through their career. And so they're doing that on the side of their career. So everybody and anybody, you know, is doing it. But I would say near the top, you're definitely going to find more managers and more coaches and people that are traveling for ninja.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Awesome.
I have one question. I definitely have a question, and it's very, you might laugh, but when you retire, are you ever going to go on the show Wipeout?
I don't know. Honestly, I mean, if they invited me, sure, why not? I think it would be pretty fun. I mean, I would do any of those like competition shows, whether it's like Survivor. Oh, that'd be so hard to not eat for so long. But like, but like the challenge where you like do all these like really cool physical challenges and things like that. You know, Amazing Race, like anything like that, anything where you eat and you can compete. I would be down to do any of those. I'm always game. So if anybody asked me to do any of that stuff, I would definitely do it.
That's
Why
great.
not?
You heard it here first. Jesse Labreck is up for any competition show on reality TV.
Not American Idol either.
That challenges her. Okay.
Sing.
That challenges her where she can eat and doesn't have to sing. That's okay. That's
perfect.
Awesome. That's awesome. So before we have two kind of final questions that we like to ask all of our guests that come on the podcast. But before we get to that, when does the 2021 season, I know you said you're filming it soon, but when does the 2021 season air so people can be on the lookout for that? And how do people find and interact with you, Jesse?
Sure. So the new season is airing on May 31st. I think I'm going to be probably like the 5th episode. So I'll be well into probably like June, almost July before like my episodes start airing. But there will be, they haven't announced it yet, but there will be a special episode coming out in May before the season airs that I'll be in. I'm guessing it's going to either be that Sunday before is typically what they do, or they do it the full week before. But there'll be a special episode for people to look out for that I will be in.
Awesome.
Which is really cool. It's the first time they've done this special episode, so I won't ruin the surprise.
Okay.
Definitely don't.
Yeah. And then I forgot the next question. Oh, how to find me. So basically I'm just on Instagram at Flex Labreck. And so I post on there. I post my workouts and things like that. And then I'm on Facebook. Like I have an athlete page. It's just Jesse Labreck. And so, yeah, I'm on there. I'm trying to cut down my social media time though. I found that I'm a lot happier in life when I do a little bit less social media. So I've been trying to cut that down. But I'm there.
I don't blame you at all.
Yeah.
I don't blame you at all.
Overwhelming sometimes.
For sure.
Yeah.
So obviously, thank you again for coming on, Jesse. Really appreciate your time today. So we have two questions that we ask all of our guests that come on the podcast. So the first one is, what is your definition of strength?
Wow, that's a good one. My definition of strength, I would say, I mean, it's not just your muscle, you know. I would say being mentally and physically prepared for something, maybe of like prepping for something. Oh, that's a tough one. You put me on the spot.
Yeah, I know.
We do it to everyone.
Yeah.
I would say, it's being mentally and physically prepared for something, I guess.
Yep.
Okay. That's great. Love it. I love that we get different answers on these all the time. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's great because
they're all different, but they're great.
It shows that it's a very all-encompassing term. And then our last question is, what is your true purpose in life?
My true purpose in life, I think, would be to motivate kids, and I think especially little girls, to show them that being strong is cool, and that having muscle is cool, and that you can definitely, if you want to do it, like you should go for it and you should put all your effort into it. And you don't have to hold yourself back based on for any reason, whether it's physically, mentally, anything, like just go for it. And so I feel like definitely my purpose, which I did not know was going to be my purpose until I found Ninja, I think is to show that women especially are capable of doing so much physically, and that we are super strong as well. And that I don't want little girls to be held back because they feel like they can't do something.
Amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Josh and I both have daughters, so we really appreciate that.
Yeah, I have a daughter and a son, and I tell my daughter all the time, don't listen to the static. You're a strong young lady, very strong-willed.
Yeah.
Which is okay. I just grit my teeth and let her be her.
Yeah. I think that's part of the reason of why I am the way that I am, is that my dad didn't treat me differently because I was a girl. I mean, maybe secretly he just wanted the boy, and he just treated me like,
oh, geez.
All right, let's go. You're helping me build this house. Okay, well, yeah, you're fine. So yeah, that's kind of how I was raised. It's like, just, you got to be tough.
It's that central Maine grit, Jesse. You just,
for sure.
you got that Oakland, Maine grit. That's all it is. We work hard, we grind it out, and we do whatever we need to do to get the job done and do it the best we absolutely can. So
you can dig rocks out of our dirt track as the first practice,
Oh yeah. When you're going into the weight room for the first time with blisters on your hands from the maintenance you had to do to your own track. Yeah, that's it builds a little
mental strength.
The mental strength for sure. Awesome.
Strength,
well, Jesse, thanks so much for coming on, and we really appreciate your time. And
thank you.
Everybody, thank you for listening to another episode of the Strength of Purpose podcast. Please go follow Jesse at Flex Labreck on Instagram. We'll have all of her information from her socials in the show notes. Be on the lookout for that special episode airing near the end of May, and for the new season of American Ninja Warrior coming out this summer. We always appreciate you listening. You can find us anywhere you find podcasts. Would love and appreciate if you could give us a 5-star rate and review. You can also find us on YouTube, where all of our interviews and episodes are put up as well. Just search Strength of Purpose Podcast on YouTube. Would love if you would subscribe and hit the notification bell as well. And that is all we have for today. So Jesse, thank you again very much. And we will see you all back here next time.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me.